information coming, we don't know exactly what is going on, and so on and so forth. So, Mr. Malema, the question pertaining to the issue of intelligence, we've seen that through the Zondo Commission, but we've seen that our intelligence agents in the country have gone rogue on many issues, where even funds are stolen in Musanda, in local and foreign currency, which is quite unfortunate. So I think the thing is that how do we correct this rogue element within the intelligence services? And maybe linked to that as a final point, Mr. Malema, it's decisions that are taken by the president, for instance, to classify some of the reports. We've spoken earlier about the July unrest. Task teams were set up, the one led by Sandy Africa, for instance. They came up with recommendations and so on and so forth. But on the intelligence report, the president decided to classify that report. We don't know what is contained in that. And it's interesting because initially there were talks that some high-profile ANC members were involved in this attempted insurrection. So how do we, as citizens or as people who should hold the executive accountable, push to have those documents declassified? The last one was the Lady R controversy, where South African government was accused by US of loading weapons or supplying Russia with weapons and so on. Another investigation team was set up by the president, and he declared, I think also in Parliament or whatever, that report is classified. I mean, how do we hold the president accountable about that? What do we know? What is contained in that report? And finally, the parliamentary presiding officers, after that controversy with the Chief Justice, when he spoke about the laissez-faire attitude in terms of applying the recommendations of the Zondo Commission, they held a media briefing, and in one of the things talking about oversight, Mr. Malema, when the question was asked about the president, there are no mechanisms, like stricter mechanisms in Parliament to hold the president accountable. And they spoke about sending a delegation to the UK to study how the UK hold their president accountable. And I mean, so will the EFF support? They're talking about tight fiscal discipline, tight budgets, but now they're sending a delegation to England to study how they hold maybe Boris Johnson accountable, even though they fired him. Thanks.
I hope your answer will be shorter than his question.
Well, I think the one of the president is neither here nor there. We're not going to agree with that. So the trips in Parliament are decided by who wants to tour which area. So if someone hears there is Maldives and he discovers it now, he's going to do some trip that goes to Maldives and say we're going to study what we're going to study. So I think Nozivio wants to go to London. He says we must go to London to go and study how to hold the president accountable. We're not going to agree. We've made our point very clear already that there is no need. We're already holding ministers accountable here in South Africa, and we must just follow what is working and hold the president accountable. Well, I have no problem with classifying information, because there is certain information that includes state security. But you cannot classify something that is in the interest of our people. Because if there were armaments that were sold and the arms committee was not involved and all of that. You might want to tell us some parts of that report, not in totality and all, but you cannot you can't classify illegality and corruption. That we don't agree with. And that's why our problem is in the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. We're being told to pass budget, but where the money goes, we don't know. You find there was a guy in Durban, I forgot his name, I wanted to call him by name. He's an Indian chap there, who puts the whole family as a spice. Yeah, and then he pays the money, And when you bring that to the attention of the Joint Standing Committee, they brush it off. And then they buy houses and then call them safe houses. And then they buy houses in the most expensive suburbs. You may find that there is a safe house in Sandest. But when you follow through, there is no subject that stays there. It's a minister or a deputy minister or some DG or anything of that sort. But that house is classified as safe house. So that is illegality. And that's where our battle is with them. That you refuse to account, and when we push you to account, you say no, these things are classified. And what is even worse, you can't get out of that committee and share that information. You're not allowed. So you are just going to be drowning in knowing things that are wrong, and you can't speak about them anyway because they say they are classified. I think we ought to find a way of challenging that legislation to see where there is acts of corruption. They must be declassified and people must be told about them, and a proper investigation must be done. That's where the Inspector General of the Intelligence should come in to come and say, we should give him that information and say, but this one and this one and this one, we don't think they've got anything to do with classifying information for the sake of state security or secret. This is corruption and we want to investigate. That's why there was a big fight on Inspector General. We fought because the person they wanted to bring in the form of the chairperson now of the Integrity Committee, French Ghana, was going to be partisan, completely partisan. And they did not get the required numbers, and they had to abandon Chikane as name. But how do you bring a politician to become an Inspector General, where some of these things must be taken to and say to him, these people are engaged in corrupt activities, please intervene and help the situation. You find him conflicted because he's a leader of a political party. The illicit financial flows are the ones that led to us being grey listed. That's our struggle. It's a permanent war that we are fighting in the Standing Committee of Finance. It's a permanent war that we are fighting at SCOPA because these multinational companies are the ones that are engaged in illicit financial flows, helped by our own institutions who look the other way. And when that information comes to our attention, we are the only party that has challenged the issues of illicit financial flows, and we have not abandoned them. And what is even shocking is that when we raised this matter of illicit financial flows, members of the ANC did not know what we were talking about, and even asked us to run workshops for them on illicit financial flows, because they have no idea how it affects the country and how does it work. It's a reality we are confronted with. Thank you.
Mario, you happy? All right. There was a hand this side, persistent hand over there.
Thank you very much. Professor Onkopotse Tabane, I pay my respects. My name is Sihla Ngule Siwisa. It's a pleasure to be able to address the CIC. I'm from the Eastern Cape, and I'm not a member of the EFF. However, because this is a frank dialogue, I want to say that I have observed the evolution of your maturity as a leader over time. I first saw you on our television when you were leading a march here, COSAS, that became violent. And you spoke, and you were a young lion, even within the ANC. You know, I think you'd also admit that there were moments when elders abused the youth for their own ends. And I think that's part of the reason why we're here now, because the minute you bit the hand that sought to direct you, then you were defenestrated from the ANC. Ironically, I think the trauma of being cast out of the ANC gave you and your capable collective an opportunity to introspect, to pause, reflect, and renew. On my way here, I was driving behind a taxi, and it has the inscription at the back, Basheshe Bahleka, which means we laughed too soon. And there was a moment when, you know, the discussion of it would work and many, many other things made you a laughing stock on social media. But I must admit, as a member of the ANC, that the Julius of yesteryear is vastly different to the articulate young scholar who is schooling us today. Your journey to the union buildings will be fraught with contestation. There's a saying in Afrikaans, that means you cannot throw away the bathwater with the child. There are still credible cadres in the ANC with ideological clarity who love this country as much as you do. Let's collaborate, let's back channel, and let's make all voices count. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you so much. There are 3 people left now before we can all go and have dessert and go home. Yes.
Hi, Umberto Bacchi from Agence France Presse. I have 2 quick questions. The first one, if you could elaborate a bit further on the elections in Zimbabwe. In particular, the ANC has labeled the opposition leader as an American puppet. What do you make of that comment, and what's your own assessment? And the second is on BRICS and hosting Vladimir Putin here, understanding the concerns that you expressed about the ECC and American foreign policy. Having Putin here will send a message of support towards his leadership, and considering that this is someone who runs a largely corrupt, if you want, regime who holds an imperialistic view of Russia's role in the world, how do you reconcile that with the core values of the EFF? In short, is he someone who's worthy of your support?
No, I don't think Putin runs an imperialistic war, because imperialism will seek to extend its influence over others' territories, and that's not what he's seeking to do. All he's saying is that NATO cannot expand itself to a point where it threatens Russian security. He doesn't talk about encroaching on other people's sovereignty and imposing his ideological orientations on those other countries. He's saying, this is me, and when you come closer to me and put your weapons facing at my direction, you are a threat to me, and therefore I don't want that. Whereas imperialism wants to extend itself into other people's territories. He's not saying, he never woke up in the morning and said, I want to annex Ukraine and make it part of Russia. All he said is that your joining of NATO is a direct threat to Russia and undermines many other treaties which made a commitment that NATO will not extend to that particular direction. And that's all. And I always say to people that you always say people have a right to choose what they want to choose and all of that. If NATO decide to choose to join, I mean, if Ukraine decide to choose to join NATO, what is his problem? But what if you go to bed one day and then your wife comes to bed with a knife and say it is her right to choose what she wants to sleep with, and then she's going to sleep next to you with a knife? You can't allow that. There's not going to be sleeping that day. No one is going to sleep in that room. And then Barry's got a right to carry a knife and then sleep with knife next to me. So it can't be. It's not correct. You said something about American puppet?
Yeah, Zimbabwe.
Well, that is Mbaduda's view. It is at the ultimate end the choice of the people of Zimbabwe who they vote for. Tsvangirai won elections. Mugabe refused to accept the results. And then President Mbeki intervened. There was a government of national unity. And then subsequently there was the election. Mugabe won. And then this one came through the way it came. And the people voted Tsvangirai. Even Mnangagwa's people will tell you that we lost that vote. I mean, Chamisa. They voted Chamisa. Twice they won. Tsvangirai won, Chamisa won. At least Tsvangirai's winning was announced. The only difference was that he didn't reach the threshold. This one's winning was handled differently. And remember, the army plays a role in Zimbabwe as to who wins, who doesn't win. So, if one characterizes Chamisa as an American puppet, he has to produce some form of evidence. He can't just talk. Why is he saying he's an American puppet? Because if you read Tsvangirai and Chamisa's policies and those of the ANC, they're the same. They're the same. The ANC, Chamisa, the ANC and DA, they all sing from the same hymn book. So why would he, who is he to tell us that Chamisa is an American puppet? The ANC has been the British puppet from its formation. The ANC had a thing in, was it constitution, protect the Queen in its constitution at the formation of the ANC. So you can't come and want to lecture us about puppets of anything. If the people want Chamisa, they must vote Chamisa. If the people want Tyson, they must vote. How do you disqualify a person from contesting you? It's already a sign of panic. Because if you don't doubt yourself and we're talking democracy, open the field. Let everyone contest. Why are you scared of Kasukweri? Kasukweri must be allowed to contest so that people have more options of what they want to do with Zimbabwe. We need a stable Zimbabwe, especially ourselves as South Africa. We need a stable Zimbabwe, and we so wish that this election are successful and there's no violence and they produce stability for the sake of our own peace. Because this thing that we see here of Zimbabweans being beaten up and all of that really is not nice. It's not nice. So a functioning Zimbabwe will lessen some of these xenophobic tendencies that we come across from time to time.
If you're happy?
Yes, thanks.
All right. I think there's 2 left now, okay?
No,
It's a woman here.
Are there other people?
Yeah, it's a woman here.
this side has been.
Yeah, there was a
All right. Okay, let me take one and I'll come back to this table.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. Mr. Malema, in provinces where the ANC has...
So introduce yourself.
Hawelo Magolero with UFM and Newsnote. I'm sorry about that. where the ANC has displayed serious weaknesses in electoral politics, Free State, Northwest, Mudimulle, Mokopong, you would know that even in Rustenburg, they are running the municipality with just one vote and for a third consecutive term. How has the EFF failed to take advantage of that situation and get at least one or two municipalities? And then secondly, in relating to your internal democracy, I've heard you on several occasions, I think it was in Limpopo, I forgot the other province, where you were cautioning delegates to a provincial assembly to say you are electing people that are incompetent. They fail here and you take them to a higher role. How much of a frustration is that for the EFF, and is there a way that you think you can manage it without necessarily imposing individuals? And finally, you spoke about discipline as being one of the attributes that identify the EFF. Most political parties are struggling in this country. When they are going into a meeting, resolutions have already leaked, they are online and so on. I must say, as a journalist, that I hardly ever see that with the EFF. How do you get it right? And also just take the opportunity to explain this idea of discipline in your terms as the EFF, because others would then say it's a cult, he speaks alone, the rest can't speak. I think you can just speak to that. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. No, discipline is what will run any institution. In the absence of discipline, you can forget. You mentioned the radio where you come from. Imagine when people do as they wish there, because if you implement discipline, they will say it's a cult, it speaks alone and all of that. I think that the people who know the leadership of the EFF, from when it started until now, there is no way you can speak alone. The reason why they joined EFF, part of it is that they are just defiant in nature. That's why they were like, yeah, we're going to the EFF, so what? So you can't speak alone. Discipline is what makes everything work. Be in the church, be in politics. There was a point where we were very disciplined in the ANC. We knew leadership, and then we knew when the leadership will speak, and when the leadership speaks, we all listened. Not this leadership that speaks all the time. When it goes to the bathroom, it calls a press conference. When it goes to the bathroom, it calls a press conference. No. It's tiring. You can see that you have a Secretary General of the ANC who appears on TV more than Sophie Mugweni. So you no longer know who's the presenter between the two of them. So we used to, we during Khalema Mtland, the NEC will sit and then we'll be drinking there, young. Someone will scream from the house, hey, SG's on TV. We'll all abandon what we're doing to go and watch, because we know that if the SG goes on TV, there's something important to be announced. Not this thing we're seeing. So that doesn't, inspire confidence. And it becomes some playful type of a thing. So yesterday in Mudimulle, right, the AEFF issues a directive. Don't vote with the ANC. 2 councillors or 3 councillors, they vote with the ANC. The ANC wins a mayor. What must I do? Because if I act, I'm a cult. And if I leave those people, then it's going to be a trend everywhere. They do as they wish. They must be disciplined. They must learn to carry the mandate of the organization. Those ones are even worse. They went into the council through what is called PR, is party representative. You carry the mandate of the party. If you are a ward councillor, you can say, no, but in my ward they are saying. But when you are PR, there is no word. Only the party tells you what to do. And they've not done it. And I don't think they should wake up the following day as members of the EFF. They must be suspended with immediate effect, so that whoever tries to do that knows that there is discipline in the EFF. And this ill discipline, what makes it even more painful of this nature, it has got money in it. Where people are given money to vote in a particular way. So how are you going to have an organization where people are bought with money and don't follow the party line? So you need to nip it on the bud. And that's what the EFF does. My brother, elections are very difficult. When I can see you can form a radio here today and move it and go there, you don't just take a municipality. A municipality, in politics, longevity brings about integrity and credibility. People want to see you for over a period of time. And they want exactly the point the comrade was making, that you have been moving from this to this to this. We're watching you. They can't just wake up one morning and give you a municipality. They once gave Holomisa a municipality there in Umtata. What happened? That was the beginning and the end of it. So, and remember, the EFF is a victim of these other parties that failed before the EFF. But it's just one of those. Unless the EFF demonstrate over a period of time that it is different from those parties that came before. And that's why I hear, hey, you don't have municipality, you don't have that. I'm not worried about that, because I know it's just a matter of time where the people will know that the only organization that is reliable is this one. How? By being consistent and by having a staying power. Because we're not a popcorn approach. We are a political formation that is ground up. And so far we're doing well. Someone was saying, you like saying you are a government in waiting. We're not government in waiting. We're government in Ikuruleni. We're government in Joburg. We're government in Mohali City. We're government in Nelson Mandela. We're government in eThekwini. So, and it's happening gradually, slowly, in a very qualitative manner. And if you're to check those illiterate councillors they are talking about, for sure of the EFF, we're going to find very few of them. Because the type of people we want to give to society, they must be of a particular caliber and quality. We cannot replace a tendency with the same tendency. So that's why the EFF's rise is of quality, and we're happy with it. That was municipality elections, you're saying?
The internal one where you are saying people are incompetent and then
well, you know what I normally do? When the EFF holds conferences, I go to close the conference. I don't open it. Because if I open it, they say I will dictate. Because I've got this thing of just speaking the truth about people. If it was for me, I always tell them, if it was my company, others won't even qualify to lead the EFF. So I stay out, allow them to vote and finish, so that I can go and have an honest conversation with them, which will not reverse the elections. But I give them an opportunity to do what they want to do. When they are done, I go and raise the weaknesses of the organization and of the leadership. And that conferences by their own nature should work to help and resolve problems, should not create problems. But I don't want to be seen to be interfering. They all went their conferences of the EFF without me speaking before the elections. I allow them to do conference, elect, and all of that, then go after to speak.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be, but if they are witnesses, I will raise them.
Yeah.
And I'll raise them sharply within the organization.
I've run out of time completely, so I'm going to take, there was a lady in this table, and then you'll be our last one over there, and then unfortunately we have to close at that. Hopefully it won't be the last dialogue, but I think we've run the course now. Yes.
Yes, my name is Nomo Sampele from Kasi Broadcasting Africa. So in Ntate Malema, there is this program called Nasi Ispani. Yeah, where is it coming from? And is it from government or municipality? And this thing, age restriction. So I found it weird, Guti. People at the age of 36, they can't apply for job to government. So EFF yona uthi numbono wayo about this whole age restriction and these jobs, etc. And my second question is, since we were speaking about building a school and farming, is there any way maybe your party works together with our educational system on teaching abantwana basesebancane ukulima instead of teaching them how babies are made at the age of 10? Yes. Thank you.
No, I agree with the last part. Ours is in a farm, and agriculture will be part of what we are teaching our kids, because our first non-negotiable cardinal pillar is the land. So you can't, when you are fighting for land, not teach people how to use land in a beneficial way. So we've taken the school to the farm, and we will make sure that agriculture is part of that. Nasi Ispani, it's a criminal activity of the ANC and Banyaza, because it's hiring those campaigners of the ANC. They want to get volunteers of the ANC, put them in the payroll of government. Then when posters time come, they release them. When door-to-door comes, they release them. When marches come, they release them. So it is not a genuine thing. But in terms of age restriction, the president was speaking in one of these imbizos. He said he's going to remove the age limit. People must apply and all of that. But Banyaza is coming with that for ANC purposes. It's just that there's that thing that exposed Besta, that what do they call it, ground up or something.
Ground up.
Yeah, ground up. Ground up must just go and investigate those people. Those people who say the guys who are employed, let's get a list of those guys.
You're talking about the police volunteers.
Those ones of Banyas. Yeah, I agree he did the police.
Yeah.
Then he did Nasi Ispani, where we are going to drop the CVs.
Yes.
Yes.
But they've not appointed the people.
Yeah.
I think they're closing the
When you know what they did? People went to drop the CVs. And then those CVs were abandoned. The real CVs were delivered.
Sure.
They were filmed delivering the real ones. Yes, of cadres. So, if you go to those police of Banyaza, is either that person is going to be the secretary of the Women's League, the chair of the Youth League, the additional member of the ANC.
Come on, all the 6,000.
Yeah. All of them. All of them. Now, as we speak, there is a crisis on the ground. That where are these police coming from? They were hired how?
And where?
Yeah. So the ANC, they take the branches, and then they say, we've got so many branches. This branch will give us 10 CVs, this one 20, depending on the size of the branch, like that. Then they get that 6,000, then submit it. Then call all of us to submit. Can't the real stuff has happened? Then call all of us to submit. That is in relation to elections. They are preparing elections. Yes, because no one wants to volunteer for the ANC now. They say, no, we've been volunteering. People come. They are the ones who take opportunities and all of that. So you have to find a creative way. So it's not a genuine thing.
We're going to take the last.
Yeah.
You are the last person to speak. Please go for it.
Mr. Malema, good afternoon. My name is Sifiso Mahlango from Independent Media. One question. In 2012, Ian Khama, President of Botswana, then President of Botswana, declared you an illegal immigrant. He lost election, fled his country, and now lives in Hyde Park. In the past, you did not have a good relationship with him. He didn't want you in that country, and for that reason, entry upon Botswana would have declared you arrested. But he lives here. He's been declared a fugitive by his country. It's not the style of the EFF and yourself, frankly, that you haven't said anything about it, or that you haven't called for South Africa to hand him over to Botswana, or that the SADC international community be up in arms. So I'm just curious why the silence. What do you think about Ian Khama staying in Hyde Park, where I'm told you stay yourself? And shouldn't he go back to his country and face the music? Thank you.
Well, I stay in Hyde Park. When you say I'm staying in Hyde Park, that guy is laughing as if it's a joke. It's not a joke. I stay in Hyde Park and I make no apology about it. It's not a secret. And I don't come from Seshego. I don't come from township. My grandmother comes from a place called Disteneng. Disteneng is a town. So when we claim land in my family, we claim land in town. I don't come from a township. Where they built town, that's where I come from. So my coming to Hyde Park is coming to where my grandparents come from. I make no apology about it. So don't even laugh with me trying to think you are creating some bad image about it. And I've stayed there. For sure, you were still in high school when I was staying there. It's not a secret. So Ian Khama, you know that time, a lot of them declared me persona non grata. Lungu didn't want me. Ian Khama didn't want me. Muswati didn't want me, and all of that. And one day when I went to Lesotho there, that Ian Khama comes to greet me. I'm like, this guy, well, there's no problem. Like, and, you know, you are in a foreign land, you don't want to be bringing attitude in other people's countries. I just cooperated. But he has not been any issue to us. And if indeed he's a fugitive, he has to be taken back home. But Ian Khama has never been any issue. We have never entertained him. Even when he was banning us in Botswana, we're like, what are we going to do in Botswana? To do what? To look for what? So I appreciate that information, because it means I must go and look for him now. And the hunter becomes the hunted now. So I will make a follow-up with the police. He doesn't stay in just Hyde Park. He stays in Saxon Hotel.
Sure.
Yeah, he stays in Saxon Hotel. So I know his address. So I will ask the Minister of Police if they are looking for him. I will show them where he stays, so they can go and fetch him and send him back there. They are looking for him. So I know that, but it was one of those things where a person just gets threatened by non-existing thing. You know, I was charged by the ANC for saying Botswana has got an American base and poses a threat to South Africa. Mbalula repeated it a few days ago. Mbalula said Botswana is a threat with an American base. He's not charged. But I was charged for that. And that one didn't want me for that. Because I said we need to remove the government of Botswana through the people of Botswana. and put a government that will dismantle that base, which is putting a threat on the whole of SADC. Because a research was conducted, the landing strip that is there in the army base of Botswana, they say it can land a fighter jet which can take less than 2 minutes if it wants to hit the Union building. So if America says we're fighting South Africa, it doesn't have to send anything from Washington. They are here already. And that's what Putin doesn't want in Ukraine. They want to do what they did here in Botswana, in Ukraine. We allowed it. And our position as the EFF is that that army base must be removed because it poses a threat to SADC. And he didn't want me to say, he banned me for my political opinion. I didn't say we're going to bomb Botswana or anything of that sort. But he was threatened by the honesty that we shared with people.
All right.
And people need to know that there is a base here which can flatten South Africa in less than no time if America decides to fight with us. It doesn't have to move anything from Washington. Actually, by the time we assemble, our equipment will be gone.
Final word as we close, and I want to link it to that question, migration. What I can see now that parties are lining up. If you listen to Gaten McKenzie, now the ANC has gone into NEC now to say they're changing tack on migration. If you were to govern with your views about Pan-Africanism, open borders and so on, how do you tackle the issue of migration? Briefly as we close.
What migration? Because there were no borders. Your problem is that you are saying you don't want colonialism, but you embrace the borders that were brought by colonialism here. Amen. There were no borders here. There have never been borders here. And that, is it Berlin Conference? It's not long time ago. It's traceable. The borders started then. The people will never leave their countries to your country if their economy and their government is working. Limpopo is very poor. There is no border between Gauteng and Limpopo. But Limpopo people have not left Limpopo to come to Gauteng. Yet Gauteng has got more resources. Why can't they leave Limpopo and come here? If these people wanted to come here, this fence was not going to stop them. No one wants to come here. They are coming to look for opportunities, and that's what we must encourage with all of you, especially the unemployed youth of South Africa. Let Africa be your playing ground. We were conditioned to think that we are superior and we are a country that is defined out of the continent. There are many countries in the continent that are doing so well. And they can use your skill, and they use dollars, by the way, some, to pay. Okay. So our position didn't change. All right. I have no time for borders. Why? I have no time for colonialism. How do you say to me, go and change French on the passport, and then come at the same time and say, leave the borders alone?